Welcome to Overtime with Jared P. and Johnny O. Special guest Mark Zanetto is Johnny's son, I believe. That's how he introduced him. I don't know. Or grandson. I'm sorry, grandson.
Oh, yeah. Boy, you're with the old jokes right off the bat. My gosh.
I don't know, man. There's a whole lot of gray beard over here. I don't know if I'm his grandson. Damn.
I know. Johnny looks good. Johnny looks good.
My dad looks really good. He does.
Yeah, your dad ages well. I think he's smart not having the beard. It makes him young. All things March Madness. I want to thank our presenting sponsor, Elite Performance Chiropractic, with Jeremy Phillips. I've been on the guest on the show many times. He owns it. He is the chiropractor there. Get you feeling better than ever. 2 locations in the Triad. You can check him out. Elite Performance Chiropractic website. Also on social media. Actually hurt my back pressing a button at work. And I'm not kidding. And I texted him this week. I'm like, dude, can you fit me in? He's like, yeah, I get you. I just want him to touch me, to be honest.
That's anyway. Good stuff, man. All right.
Let's talk about how UConn has no chance of winning the national championship. Mark, go ahead.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. I mean, if you really want to go there,
no.
Do I have some stats for you? But no, go ahead.
Well, let me interrupt for 1 second. Mark, I don't know if you've listened. I'm sure you've listened to all 88 of our show.
All 88 episodes.
Our man up on top over here, Jared P, is not a Danny Hurley fan, so be careful, will you, man?
It's okay.
Be careful.
Not everyone loves winning. It's okay.
No, I thought I couldn't hate anybody more than Coach K, but man, he is up there, and it has nothing to do with winning. It's that he's just annoying. But I do like that his teams play hard. I do like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that his teams play hard. I think he's a good coach. He's better than freaking Hubert Davis. But we'll get into the Sweet 16. Mark is a Big East expert, has a Big East podcast. I'll let you talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, and we'll see what else we get into. But, Mark, since you're our guest, who do you see after a big weekend of college basketball? Who do you see moving on to the Final Four and actually cutting down the nets?
Whew. First off, thanks for having me on, guys. Really appreciate it. I think it's going to be a really interesting weekend because it's, everyone wants to see Cinderellas, but Cinderellas are great until you get to about this point because now you want to see the best games. And it's kind of like divisional weekend in the playoffs. It's cool if you get one upset, but you really kind of want to see the best Super Bowl, the best AFC, NFC championship. So for me, I think you got that, right? I think we've had even Texas as the 11 seed is from the SEC. They're on a roll. I'm a huge underdog guy, covered the SoCon for years before I, kind of went back to my roots here with the Big East. But I mean, I just think really first off, I love St. John's. I know you're going to be happy about that as a Carolina guy to get Duke out of there. Even as a UConn guy with all this UConn stuff behind me, I think St. John's is going to – I think Duke and Duke fans are in for a really rude awakening of what Big East basketball is all about because UConn and Danny, your favorite coach, really don't play a Big East basketball style. They play like a Princeton offense. It's very kind of Euro, a lot of pin downs, a lot of like dribble handoffs. And St. John's is basically just, we're going to shove it down your throat and we're going to beat you up for about 40 minutes. And those Duke boys have not had that this year. The ACC is, as you're noticing, there's only one team in the Sweet 16. 8 teams made it. Yet 3 Big East teams and 2 made it to the Sweet 16. So I think that's my pick in the East. I think you got to go Michigan. I think you got to go Arizona. And then I'm with Florida out. I think you got to go Houston because it's in Houston. They're the best team left in that bracket. I think if they do beat Illinois, whose offense is really good, but I think defense wins in that game, I think you got a Houston, St. John's, Arizona, Michigan Final Four.
What? Wait, whoa. What'd you just say?
I said you'll have a Houston, St. John's.
Whoa, are you kidding me?
Yeah, nice. I'm going to tell you this. Tell you this on this show. If Jared's favorite team, Duke, beats St. John's, UConn is going to go to the Final Four.
Okay.
One of the Big East teams is taking out Duke.
Oh man, I love it.
Because I think it's a better matchup for UConn if they play Duke because their guards are more experienced. Guard play wins you tournaments in the Final Four. Just ask the choke job that Duke did in the Final Four last year. Didn't have an experienced guard to kind of handle all that pressure, and they lost a big game.
Yeah.
Same experience here, even with Caleb Foster maybe coming back. So that's why my pick is St. John's.
No, I was just surprised at that, but
Well,
man, I love that. St. John's, the Johnnies, man. I have picked Duke to go all the way and win it, in my bracket and, in my different brackets and stuff like that. I figured I stopped, doing these brackets by hatred and heart. I figured,
Right.
you know what, I'm going to try to win some money here or whatever. But now that I see, and I agree with you, St. John's, the pressure they put on defensively, full court for 40 minutes, Jared, is unfreaking believable. That game Sunday was ugly as hell. Okay. I mean, let's face it. Some of the shots that were going up it looked horrible for a while. Second half got a little better, but it was all about the pressure that St. John's was putting on them. And Patino just thrives on that, man. That's what his teams are all about. So I believe, I've picked Duke, but I picked Duke, but I want St. John's to win, if that makes any sense. And I'm starting to believe in the Johnnies. I think they will win on that. What do you got, Jared?
Johnny, the disrespect that you have towards me is phenomenal in the sense that you're impressed with Mark's Final Four. That was my Final Four before the tournament started. You weren't impressed then.
I clap for you. I gave you a little.
And I have Michigan winning it all. But as long as Duke is eliminated, I can't relax. And maybe Mark, you can identify with this.
Yes.
Any of UConn's rivals, if you can't relax until they're out of the tournament, especially if they're a higher seed and projected to be a Final Four team. St. John's, the thing that concerns me about them, obviously I know they're going to be prepared. They're going to be well coached. They're going to, like you guys said, they're going to muck the game up. They're going to play hard. Is that they're not a good three-point shooting team. And Duke is also not a good three-point shooting team by percentage, although that has gone up recently as the years gone on. Duke's three-point percentage is ranked 142nd in the country with Division I teams, and St. John's is 215th. These are two very poor three-point shooting teams, but both teams also defend the three well. Duke's a top 20 team or three-point defense, and St. John's is top 40, both giving up 30 to 31% from three. I just think whatever team gets hot from three, I know it seems simple, gets hot from three. If it's lopsided one way or another, if Duke's hot from three, Duke moves on. If St. John's hot from three and Duke's not, I think they move on. But I really think Duke. I think Duke will win this game. I just don't want them to, just because St. John's not a good shooting team. Period. Even like from two, they're not a good shooting team, so it makes me a little bit nervous. But they somehow put things together, just like when they beat your UConn team by 20, which was shocking. And UConn
wasn't to me.
Yeah. But 20 to me is a holy crap. Y'all are competitive. UConn's always puts up a fight, but everyone has a game like that. Now, this stat, and maybe you've heard this, I think is fascinating. Duke, of the 5 national championships they've won.
I knew what you're saying. Yep.
Yeah. At each one, they played and beat St. John's the year they
every
won
single time.
Yeah. I didn't know that.
All 5 times.
I thought I was the stat man. That's an outstanding stat.
It's a great stat.
And
Jared, I have another stat for you, because this is the exact date it happened in 1990. I was 8 years old. Okay. And this is how my hatred for Duke started. It was the Elite Eight, UConn versus Duke. UConn's up 78-77 in the Eastern Final in the Elite Eight. Jim Calhoun's team and your boy Christian Laettner did us dirty with a last-second buzzer beater to have them go to their Final Four, which in a year they lost to UNLV in the final. But this is the actual anniversary of that. I literally remember the day. I remember how I felt as a kid. And I remember my body's getting hot thinking about it, because I was so upset, because it was my first real year of learning about basketball and loving a team. That was what UConn fans called the dream season. It's their first year as a 1 seed. Everyone was like, "Oh, we're destined to go to the Final Four." It was the game after Tate George hit a last-second shot in the Sweet 16 against Eldon Campbell and Clemson. And man, I've hated Duke ever since. So this is the thing that we can connect on. I absolutely will pick anybody else but Duke. They're good. They're one of the best teams in the country. I respect John Shire. I respect the coaches that play that are there.
Yep.
But man, I root against them hard every freaking year.
We all do.
And to get into a further conversation about Duke, if Duke gets eliminated, as we all think that they will, I believe, because I'm sticking with my Final Four, and I'm still sticking with Michigan winning it. Although I wouldn't be surprised if really any team left wins it. Duke is the biggest underperforming team of the elite teams of the last 12 years. I mean, the last time they won a championship was 2015. They've been a number one seed, 10 times, 7 to 10 times since then with no championships. I mean, Johnny, I used to tell him, like, you can be great and overrated. They're starting to become an overrated team. Like, they can't win the championship anymore. I mean, how many times are you the number one seed? They consistently, since Calipari especially left Kentucky, consistently have the number one recruiting class the last 20 years.
Oh, yeah.
They have 5 stars up and down their roster, and you don't have a championship in over a decade. That, to me, is like inexcusable. It's shocking.
Johnny, do you know what Jared's was describing to me? And you're going to love this because I'm a Yankee fan. They're the Yankees.
Oh, yeah. No,
they really are.
Exactly. Yeah. No, that goes right with it.
And because the opposite of that is, the Dodgers now spend all this money and they win.
Yeah.
If you're Duke, and listen, let's be honest, right? Pre-show we talked about NIL. Duke's spending a lot of money on NIL,
big time.
And so their ROI is pretty good, but it's not the ultimate, right?
Yeah.
They're not hanging banners. And listen, all of the talk about John Shire and he's the first to do this and the first to do that, I really do think there needs to be layers to that because NIL era is so different than 20 years ago. I mean, come on, man. Like, you can't even compare it to when Dean Smith or, Herb Sendek was in the ACC or whoever, some of these old school guys, Jim Valvano, like whatever. Like, it's just a different world. It's just people are getting paid under the table, but we kind of kept that quiet. You know what I mean? Like, but now it's out there. And if you know how much teams are paying, the expectation level, look at all the teams that are there. There's a reason why all the P4 teams are there is because they spend the most money. And there's no secret.
And it's so different that what you said earlier, there's no Cinderella anymore, man. There won't be any Cinderella anymore. Maybe one upset victory. High Point. Okay. I guess that was I don't
Cinderella in name only.
It's hard. Name only. It's because that is one hell of a basketball team. Okay.
Do you know how much High Point's NIL is?
I heard it was like about $12 million.
No, it's not 12, but for a mid-major,
yeah,
it's about between $4 and $5 million. And they pay like 4 guys quite good cash, and then they fill out the rest. That's kind of how the mid-majors do it. Duke's probably got 6 guys making $1 million minimum.
Yeah. Yep.
So it just is what it is.
Well, and Nito Cobain, I mean, he's such a powerhouse at High Point that he's heavily invested. They have the most expensive arena in all of the mid-majors with $170 million for that basketball arena, and they're spending money and they're flying. Stephen A. Smith was bragging on High Point. John Calipari was bragging on High Point. Barstool Sports is shocked at High Point's campus and what they offer. We know because we're in this area, but amongst their conference, they are spending money, and guess what? They're winning 30 games a year, and they've been in the tournament last 2 years. So yeah, money talk. It's a different. You're right. It's a great point, Mark. NIL changes everything. Does Shire, have a number one team every year without NIL? It is Duke, probably not. Carolina was late to the NIL as far as heavily invested. I think they thought the brand was bigger, and they got behind a little bit. Plus, they have a coach that deserves to be fired and exiled forever. But we'll get into that in a second. So, Johnny, do you have any?
Real quick, let me piggyback on that real quick. It doesn't matter. Well, Duke, I'll say UConn, North Carolina, Kentucky, the Blue Bloods and all that. That is pretty much gone too. It's all about the money. I mean, if High Point is going to give a kid $4 million and Kentucky's only going to give him $3 million, that kid ain't picking Kentucky because it's Kentucky. He's taking the $4 million. What do you think of that?
I will say this. I will push back on that gently, and this is why. Typically, they go to the highest bidder. but I will use UConn. I know that, if anyone's a UConn fan and they hate that I picked St. John's in the Final Four, I will redeem myself with this. Dan Hurley, you do, if you win and you create a culture that is about basketball first, and like NIL is like 6th on the list, because if you go into Dan Hurley's office and you say, I want to deal with my brand, I don't care if you're the number 1 recruit in the country or you're the best player since, Lou Alcindor to come out of college basketball, he's going to tell you to get the hell out of his office. Okay. So you kind of have to know your audience. And the way that UConn vets players is they kind of do a trickle down effect. They figure out who the players' parents are, who they're hanging around with. And if it doesn't fit their style, they move. If you look at who they've picked, who they've gotten over the last couple of years, Donovan Clingan was a 4-star recruit in Connecticut. He's a star in the NBA now. Stephon Castle was a 5-star, but he was like 10th in the national rankings. He wasn't the top recruit in the country. So they probably paid him the most of any player that come at UConn over the last few years. And if you look at this next year's recruits, another top 10 recruiting class, but they're in like the 15 to 25 range. They budget because they want team guys. They want guys that are going to buy into your boy Dan Hurley's system and not, be AJ DeBonsa and have to pay him $7 million. And everyone's been like, all right, well, where's the rest of the money? It's a strength in numbers thing. And if your Carolina wants to get to that level, they got to create that winning culture again past what it used to be in the NIL era. And then they can have the pick of the litter because they have that winning culture and they can pay them whatever they want, because Carolina's not poor. Carolina spent $14 million this year. So this roster construction was just ill-conceived. It had zero to do with, you could give Hubert some guff over this, and I think he's a good dude. I don't think he should be the head coach, but for $14 million, you got to do better. That's all.
Well, I mean, but they lost maybe the best player in the country too. I mean, that was a devastating.
Is that an
blow,
issue?
But, pardon me?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know Duke fans like, we lost Caleb Foster. I'm like, oh, you lost 8 points a game. Okay. Caleb, like you said, he's a top 4 pick. He has Kevin Garnett vibes. And I don't think we're having that discussion. I did hear the point being made. It said Caleb Wilson wasn't playing when they're up 19 against VCU. I think they beat VCU. We're not having this discussion. They made it Sweet 16 without Caleb. There's not that discussion. Or if the game was close the whole time, you could say, well, Caleb wasn't there. We're up 19. You didn't sub in the second half. He's not made in-game. We'll get into this in a second. But, I think all the above is true. But, like, BYU, their second best player, oh, my gosh, I forgot his name. He's
Saunders.
He's a double-double machine. He's a smart player, and he blew his knee out. But BYU went from, they've been to the Final Four before in the 80s with Danny Ainge, and they've had some players here and there, Jimmer Fredette, blah blah blah. You just get lucky with members of our church that happen to be good and go there, every once in a while. But now they're like, AJ doesn't go to he's not a member of our church, and they paid him $7 million. Just like that, BYU's a contender overnight. If they're a healthy squad, they had Final Four talent when they're at full strength.
You get Rob Wright too. Rob Wright, they paid him about $2-3 million to come from Baylor to be their point guard. So
yeah. And then you have your second best player gets hurt, who's like a legit number 2, and then all of a sudden you're 500 after that. So there's a lot, but money does talk. If a school, Johnny, I'll say this: if Duke or Carolina's offer me $3 million and High Point's offer me $4 million, I'm still going to Carolina. But if it's $5 million and $2 million. $5 million.
Where do I live? Where do I pay my taxes?
Yeah, exactly. If it's $5 million to $2 million, I'm going to go to High Point. But if it's that much more, all right, Johnny, you want to take the sponsors?
Pardon me?
What were you going to say?
Yep. Before we start talking about your boy, we're already starting a little Hubert Davis bashing, but anyway. Estate Jewelry and Loan, something old, something new. Estate Jewelry has a great selection of new and estate jewelry and can really find a nice, unique piece for any occasion. Go see Brian over at 2511 Battleground Ave. And you also can go to estatejewelryloan.com. Also have Salsarita's Fresh Mexican Grill, located in High Point at the Palladium and in Greensboro in the Target Shopping Center in on New Garden Road. It's got a food truck, catering, daily specials. Go to salsaritas.com. And also, For Real 24, Mark, if you haven't checked this place out, you got to check it out. You'll probably hit the ball through the damn screen, though. It's real golf indoors anytime. Greensboro's premier 24/7 indoor golf facility offering iconic golf courses and state-of-the-art equipment. Our man Clay Jordan, our sponsor, go see him. He's a great guy, and he is located over on Horsepen Creek Road in Battleground. He's got a nice little facility there.
Cool.
Mark's a long ball hitter, Jared. He can hit.
We haven't played in a while. My drive is started to disintegrate, but my accuracy has gone up though, Johnny.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Hey, also Jimmy Snow out in Cicero, New York, Imperial Marketing Solutions. He's selling like new laptops and desktops for $395. Give my man Jimmy Snow a call at 315-345-8349.
Well, maybe Mark, you can take him golfing for Father's Day. It'll be nice for father and son to get back together. All right, Hubert Davis. I'm selfishly going to start on this because I'm a Carolina fan and have been for my whole life. Hubert Davis, it's not just good enough to be a nice guy. It's not just good enough to be in the Carolina family. Is he a terrible coach? No. Is he an elite level coach? Absolutely not. And this is not revisionist history. When the search was on after Roy Williams announced his retirement on April Fool's Day, like, okay, Roy, come on. I was like, not Hubert, please, not in the Carolina family. Let's go for Brad Stevens. Let's go for one of these outside the family coaches. I really wanted Brad Stevens. I mean,
he's not coaching anymore.
No, but I'm saying this was 4 years ago, and he was with the Celtics organization. But I thought, man, that would be awesome. He's young, he's brilliant. He took Butler twice, to the national championship game. He obviously did well with Boston as a coach, but more so even as an executive. But I wanted Brad Stevens at the time. I wanted Bryce Drew. I just wanted somebody outside the Carolina family, and they went with Hubert, and I wasn't happy about it. And then Coach K senior night. Oh, and then the team sucked the whole year. They had a good roster. The team sucked the whole first year. And I went to a Wake Forest game, and they were down 22, and they lost by like 25. And they, at that time, we're not going to make the tournament. This is like February. Then they went on that incredible run. They beat Coach K on senior night. In front of all, and just humiliated him, and he had to give a speech and tell the crowd to shut up. Everyone be quiet, listen to me. And you're like, you suck. And then in the Final Four, you're like, yes. And they're up 15 at halftime against Kansas. I'm like, this is the greatest Carolina season ever. I was wrong about Hubert Davis, biggest blown lead ever in the national championship game. Think, all right, this is his first year. And then we go to preseason number 1. You don't make the tournament. The first team ever to be a preseason number 1, not make the tournament. Like, all right, not good. And then we have a number 1 seed in the tournament. We get blown out in the Sweet 16, I believe, to Alabama. Then we don't make the tournament 2 years in a row. I mean, we make tournament 2 years in a row, and we're out in the round of 64. And we had the dubious record. He's making records when it comes to the worst possible records, like losing the biggest lead in national championship history, and then the biggest lead in tournament history, being up 19 in the second half and losing. And Carolina's only done that twice in 50 tournament games, and both times it was Hubert Davis at the helm. On the other side, he has a Final Four. He has epic wins against Coach K, and in the Final Four, they can't take that away from him. He was 18-0 at home for the first time. Carolina's been undefeated at home, but that many games at home for the first time. He recruits fairly well. They're like, he ain't a great recruiter. He's a good recruiter. He gets 1 or 2 guys. In-game adjustments has never been his strength. Holding players accountable, not his strength. Former players have gone to Chapel Hill in the summer or even practices, and they're like, they don't play hard. Right. I mean, Seth Greenberg, he's not a big Carolina guy. He's hard on Carolina. Every time at halftime, no matter the score, it's like, this team doesn't play defense. This team doesn't play hard. That is coaching. You think, and I hate his – I think he's annoying. I don't hate his guts. But Danny Hurley, you think his players aren't going to play hard? You think that's going to happen? You think Rick Pitino's kids aren't going to play hard? They're going to play hard. They're still kids, but it's unacceptable. He needs to go, and none of this in the Carolina family talk ever again. Do you know who wasn't in the Carolina family? Dean Smith. He coached at Kansas. It's like the dumbest thing. Like, our tradition is inside the family. Our most, I think Roy has more championships, but our greatest coach of all time is not a Carolina guy. So stop within the family stuff. That's so antiquated. Get the best possible coach. I don't want a pilot flying me around because he's late to the last pilot. I want the best pilot. It's just outrageous, the things that we do at Carolina. I want a Bill Belichick basketball coach, and we'll be terrible next year. And then I'll eat my
God, good Lord.
Oh, they're like, we're going to treat Hubert Davis with respect. You didn't treat Matt Brown with respect.
Settle down there.
Hey, Jared, does your next basketball coach have to have a 24-year-old girlfriend too, or is that not a requirement at UNC?
If he's going to suck, he needs to have a 24-year-old girlfriend.
Okay, just checking. I just wanted to see.
Well,
because I heard Todd Golden's your guy. Then you should be okay there.
Yeah,
no,
I would
allegedly.
Oh Mark. Boy, you brought that story out, man.
I'm
spicy.
Let me ask you something.
Real quick, Johnny. Real quick, Mark.
Okay, go ahead.
I will say this: it will never happen. I would take Danny Hurley in a second.
Oh yeah, he ain't coming, but you can't have it. But
I would take him in a second. Yeah.
You know, the talking heads mentioned that this morning or yesterday morning. Well, what about Danny Hurley? And I'm like, why the hell? UConn's program has been sky high for decades now. Okay, I mean, why would he even think about that? And this is the same guy that turned down the Lakers. But you know, let's get off that now. That was unbelievable.
Oh yeah,
but Jared, who's better than Hubert Davis? Who are they gonna hire? I'm not really seeing anything. Are they maybe behind the scenes figuring something out here?
No, they haven't announced it yet. I mean, there's rumors that they are going to keep him. There's rumors he's not. It's all over the place. Carolina's botched this whole thing. It's taken way too long to say one way or another. Make a decision, for crying out loud. I like Todd Golden. You know, I mean, he was number one seed. He lost. You know, I like a Bryce Drew. I think his teams play hard.
Jared, can you pause there on Todd Golden? I'm not even talking about the silly stuff. You don't like Dan Hurley. Have you seen Todd Golden on the sidelines? Come on, bro.
Like, no one's more annoying than Danny Hurley. You know that.
I will sit. If it's the only reason why you care more about Dan Hurley than Todd Golden is because every college media basketball outlet puts a camera on him the way they used to with Bobby Knight. Todd Golden is 1,000% worse with his antics. I won't curse on your show, but I will mouth it. He said, he basically, when they gave him an explanation, he said, "You mother bleeping, are you MFing kidding me?" to the official, and then threw his clipboard. No technical, no think pieces, no outrage. It's just, it's a different animal, and it's because Danny is kind of arrogant out there. But Todd Golden is worse. He is an absolute psychopath. And if he comes to Carolina, you're going to fire him in 4 years for either something he does off the court. I'm not saying anything that it's in his history, but he's just crazy, or underperforming, because that dude is going to blow a gasket way before Danny Hurley is.
But why would he leave? Why would he leave Florida? That's a hell of a program.
I mean, it is. Yeah, but it's like, you know, if you're a climber, you know, you're San Francisco, Florida, like Carolina is a better job than Florida, like traditionally. If they give the resources, which they clearly do, that's a better job. That's what we talked about, right? If it's a better job, you go. If the money's right, you go.
Right.
You know, I've heard coaches leaving places because of situations that are at a certain school, and it kind of gives them a fresh start. So maybe, you know, that's something that's Todd Golden. If he had moved past this round, the Sweet 16, I don't see it as a possibility. But the fact that they got upset by Iowa like they did, especially with, did you see him and Ben Howland going at it from the Iowa coach? Yeah. Look, dude, that dude would be fun just for you guys in general to go at John Shire. The back and forth between those two guys would be wild. Anything, take him. That'd be great.
And I think it's a pass because he kind of has a baby face. All this stuff plays into the optics. You know, when Danny Hurley gets angry, he looks crazy.
He looks.
You know what? Though, at this point, after Hubert, who is probably the nicest person on earth, I know some people have met him, like he's the nicest. I'm not against him as a human being. I want some crazy at Carolina to get these players to play hard.
Yep,
I'm tired of this half the game they don't play defense, and then they try to they press the last 2 minutes. It's like, okay, this is like amateur hour.
I got you guys have your phones because I'm seeing breaking news about what we're talking about right now. You mentioned Bill Belichick being the football coach. Okay, what's he? 94 years old, old football coach.
Yeah.
North Carolina is thinking about bringing Phil Jackson back. And
shut up. Breaking news. You mean Red Auerbach?
That would be right on the same.
I know, for real.
Red
You know what?
Grange.
I'd take Phil Jackson for a year. I'd take Rick Pitino for 2 years. I'd take anybody. I'd take Michigan's coach. I would take Arizona's coach. I would take, I mean, there's a lot of coaches that I think would love to be.
Do you know who I think it's going to be, Jared? Do you know who I think it's going to be? It makes a lot of sense. And it's not a sexy pick, but it's Vanderbilt's coach. I can see that being the pick. Because he runs a great offense. He's classy. He fits in with that mold. He's coached in a big conference, in a P4 conference. Vanderbilt's put more money into their football program, so he understands kind of that dynamic. I think that makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, personally. I've heard that's actually a good pick. I mean, he's a culture builder too, and actually an X and O's guy. Yeah, so it would not be sexy, it would not be exciting, but I don't care as long as you win. Well, Johnny, What do you think
about who's going to take over the coaching?
Or what do you think about? Do you think Hubert Davis should keep his job?
No. I think they got it. They got to make a move, especially now. I mean, that's all the talk's been, and all of a sudden it's Tuesday, late Tuesday afternoon. They haven't made a decision yet, so I don't know what they're. I think they're having trouble finding, who do they really want, and who's going to be better than him. I don't have a clue. I'm being honest with you. I think it's going to be a very big surprise for all of us on who they hire.
Okay. And then Mark, what are your thoughts keeping his job? Because some people think he should keep his job, like Dick Vitale and all these different people talking heads. They're like, this is disrespectful. He's the first Carolina coach. I guess they're saying he's to win 20 games in his first 5 seasons. I'm like, well, that's not true because Shire's done it. But there's some sort of weird stat they're floating out there like it's some great thing. But he's not producing March Madness.
You have to remember, too, like he worked at ESPN for a long time. He's got a lot of friends there. And that's the biggest media outlet in the world. And essentially what they're doing is, and I'm not saying you would do this or Johnny would do this, but if you had a friend who needed a little bit of a push because, they're a good person and their character and they've been somewhat successful in their industry, but comparatively there's levels to it, right? I think his situation is one where I personally, I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I don't think he wanted the job. I'll just be honest with you. I think he got forced into it by Roy to kind of keep that succession. And when Roy kind of left, pretty abruptly, like there wasn't a Coach K tour. I can tell you that. So, I think for me, that is part of it. And he's probably just at a point where he's, I don't want to say given up, but just kind of like over it. And I think they're basically telling him you have to either leave or we have to fire your staff and you have to get a whole new deal. And he's probably saying no to that, and they're working out the details. And it's just complicated with buyouts and listen, Hubert's a Carolina guy, so they could be doing another guy in your family, Carolina family is Wes Miller, gave Cincinnati a break so that he could go coach Charlotte, right? So he could have got a $5 million buyout, but then he would have to sit out a year. So he waited until a certain amount of time, and then it was a $3.1 million buyout. Tough break for Wes. And now he gets to go coach at Carolina, right? So he gets $3 million in his pocket. Then they announced him as the Charlotte coach in a 5-year deal, and now he's back in North Carolina. So good luck to Wes. That's my boy. Hope he does really well there. But I think that's probably what the holdup is. I don't think it's about figuring out another coach. They'll be able to find someone good relatively quickly. It is Carolina after all.
Yeah. I mean, they are. They're the Tar Heels, man. They'll find something good. Something good's going to happen. Hey, how about a quick shout out from my Orangeman, man? We got.
Yeah, I can bring that up. Yeah.
Absolutely. Get Jerry McNamara back at the helm, back in Syracuse where he owns it. He's got to keep his legacy. He's going to make things happen and bring Syracuse back to where they should be. And that's, back in that top 20, top 15 and competing every year. We got to have that. And I think he's made some, Mark and I were talking off the air a little bit. He's made some demands on, certain amount of money and this and that. It's just a different, way of interviewing now at college basketball. And there was a 2 or 3 day delay about, he was negotiating. So I think he got exactly what he wanted. And, with Carmelo backing him up and his son, I think will be a whole different player next year and staying in Syracuse. I think we're back on the upswing and maybe make a little noise in the ACC next year in the next couple of years.
Siena, had a real chance of knocking off the overall number 1 seed, and his team plays hard. They ran out of gas, but I like the hire a lot.
Oh, it was great hire. So
Mark, they they could have got anybody because Syracuse is so terrible. But anyway,
oh boy. All right, Z, thank you for helping with the show. I mean, it's been a struggle with Jared for 89 episodes here.
I take it as a good omen, man. This is the anniversary 89-90 UConn. So like, listen, I'm with 89th episode. You got a UConn guy on. I'm in. I like it. I like where we're at here.
So how can people find your podcast, Mark?
Oh yeah, sure. The website is BigEastEnergyNetwork.com. We have guys who write on it about the Big East. We're getting ready to kind of unveil some more of like a national college basketball deal where it's going to be not just the Big East. But as far as Big East Energy Network, you can find it on YouTube, Spotify, anywhere you find your podcasts. Just type in Big East Energy Network. We got a playlist of about 14 different shows. Pretty much, if you like UConn, my show's the Hoops Cap. If you want to watch Georgetown show, we got a Bleeding Blue and Gray. You know, pretty much it just goes down the line. Roll Jays is the Creighton show. It's just Holy Nova is the Nova show. So it's a good channel for Big East hoops. And the reason why we went with the Big East is because I grew up there, but also it's the only true basketball conference.
Yep.
And we are basketball people that love basketball. Some of us played. We got a former player, Roosevelt Jones, does the Doghouse. He his first interview, by the way, was your boy Brad Stevens. So we got really good guests on the show. Kenny Freeze, the former Xavier player, does a show with the Roll Blob podcast. So it's a really good mixture of people like myself who are just in this because they love it and former players.
Awesome, fantastic, great guest, Mark. I'm glad you and Johnny got to get reunited without having to go on Maury Povich or anything, and so that's pretty good. But
I miss you, Dad.
But yeah,
all right, man. Thank you. Have a great night.
Overtime pay. We're talking the overtime play. The big stories, the big plays, the big drama. We got